Federal government takes a stand against insecurity, announces measures. Suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Onnoghen, says he did not confess to any crime in his asset declaration charge. In international news, incredible tragedy as 8.5 centuries old Cathedral of Notre Dame burns in Paris' huge fire. And in sport, 6 players fail MRI test as under 17 Africa Cup of Nations kicks off.
This is ANN News.
I am Onnoghen Latunji. The federal government says it has stepped up measures to address challenges of smuggling and insecurity at the nation's borders. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyeama announced this on Monday after discussing cross-border issues with Agriculture and Rural Development Minister Onnoghen in Abuja. They were joined by Controllers Generals of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Mohammed Babandide, and the Nigeria Customs Service, Colonel Ahmed Ali. The duo were preparing for the forthcoming tripartite anti-smuggling committee meeting that comprises Benin Republic, Niger Republic, and Nigeria. The minister said the meeting was deemed necessary because of perennial insecurity in the country and the influx of weapons into Nigeria. Smuggling also played a role in necessitating the meeting. Nigeria's former Chief Justice Onnoghen has assailed the federal government for alleging that he confessed to the non-declaration of assets charge that resulted in his removal from office. Onnoghen, who voluntarily resigned his position earlier this month, refuted federal government's allegation that he admitted committing any crime to warrant his trial before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Onnoghen wants the CCT to dismiss the charge against him in its entirety. His lawyer said 4 of the counts complained of false declaration. He argued that where a complainant's alleged false declaration, there is a presupposition that there was a declaration. This was an attempt to remind the tribunal that the charge is that his client did not declare his assets and so his client could not be charged for false declaration when there was no declaration in the first place. But federal government's lawyer, Aliyu Mar, SAN, asked the CCT to convict and impose maximum punishments on the former CJN, saying it successfully established that he acted in breach of the Code of Conduct for public officers in the country. Judgment has been fixed for Thursday. The Kaduna State government has established a judicial commission of inquiry into the season's violent crisis in Kajuru local government area of the state. Governor Nasir El-Rufai's senior media aide, Samuel Arua, said in a statement on Monday evening, the commission will be chaired by Justice Isa Liu of the High Court of Kaduna State. The statement also said the move is a follow-up of the governor's promise in March to establish a judicial commission of inquiry into the communal conflicts in Kajuru local government area. The commission has 3 months to conclude its work. The federal government wants innocent Motors chairman arrested. Government lawyer has urged the Federal High Court in Lagos on Monday to issue a bench warrant against Innocent Chukwuma and some of his employees for failing to turn up to take their plea in the criminal charge. Chukwuma and his staff were absent in court on Monday. They have been charged by police in an alleged 2.5 billion naira shipping fraud. But Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, later took over the case. Prosecuting counsel Julius Ajakaye submitted an application urging the court to order the absent defendants arrested. A defense counsel, Chief Judge Uweke, and Professor Sim Baguba urged the court to dismiss the application, saying the court lacks jurisdiction to issue the warrant against the defendants because they are not properly summoned before the court. The case has been adjourned until early July. Away from court matters, 2 suspects being detained at the military task force headquarters, Operation Safe Haven in Jos Plateau State, are suing the federal government and the task force for breach of their fundamental human rights. They are also demanding 1 billion naira as general damages and a court order restricting the task force and its representatives from further arrest and detention for no just cause. The suspects, Zaka Dong and Joel Sunday, were allegedly arrested by the task force personnel in late January while playing football at Sabumbarki in Jos South local government area. They claim the task force did not tell them what offences they had committed. They have been in staff custody since their arrest, despite a court order to release them on bail. The judge said, quote, "My heart bleeds for this country. It is scary. It is sad to see people or agencies that are supposed to be responsible for protecting the laws of the land breaking the laws," end quote. The Delta State Police Command has cited security situation in the state for restricting commercial tricycle operator service in Asaba and its surrounding towns not to exceed 10 p.m. A statement issued on behalf of the Delta State Commissioner of Police, Adeyinka Adeleke, says this was in an attempt to serve the people of the state well and reduce crime to the barest minimum. Adeleke says officers of the command on patrol duties have been given a marching order to arrest and impound any tricycle operator found operating after 10 p.m. within the streets of their metropolis. Coming up, African stories. 14 killed in the 4 displacement camps clashes in the Sudan. And later, international news. Cathedral of Notre Dame burns as Parisians weep on the streets.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to news events across Africa. Sudan News Agency has reported 14 persons were killed in clashes at a displaced persons camp in Darfur over the weekend. Conflict in the Darfur region erupted in 2003 when mainly non-Arab tribes took up arms against Sudan's Arab-led government. Sudanese authorities had said the clashes broke out in Kalma camp on Saturday, but did not reveal who was behind the fighting. It says the camp was home to several groups that threaten state security. Still in Sudan, where the African Union Peace and Security Council has given the country's military junta a 15-day ultimatum to transfer power to a judicial or to a civilian-led political authority or face suspension from the Pan-Africa body. The council said in a statement after a meeting at its headquarters in Addis Ababa, a military-led transition would be completely contrary to the aspirations of the Sudanese people. It's been a few weeks now since deadly cyclone Onnoghen ravaged 3 southern African countries, leaving a trail of death and destruction. These countries have been fighting diseases and shortage of goods and materials. Mozambique is now facing a mammoth task of rebuilding as most of its infrastructure has been wiped out. Reporter Robert Nagila is on ground there.
By break, contractors rebuilt a wall torn down by Cyclone Idai at the Palmera Hotel, a popular destination for locals and holidaymakers in Beira.
We've had huge losses after Cyclone Idai. We've been closed since March 14th and hope to reopen in 3 months. We estimate losses in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The hotel's entire roof was damaged and must be replaced, while some sections will have to be rebuilt entirely. A major reconstruction effort by businesses is underway after suffering significant damage caused by Cyclone Idai. Beira's economy depends largely on the service industry. In January this year, the World Bank had revised Mozambique's growth forecast upwards to 3.5% from 3.3%. But with poor harvests caused by floods and significant destruction to infrastructure by the cyclone, the economy's growth is expected to take a dip. Economist Professor Ibrahimo Musaji says worsening conditions in central Mozambique will pile pressure on Beira's economy.
I believe this will also lead to movements from the rural area to urban areas, to cities. So we might have these movements looking for, let's say, better opportunities. This may lead to a social problem.
It is still difficult to quantify the damage to the economy, but many small and medium enterprises that contribute to the country's GDP are facing a mammoth task of rebuilding.
Most of them, until now, we are almost one month after the cyclone. Until now, they don't even start the activities, but they have costs to support, they have contracts to pay, and probably some of them will not even open again. So we might have unemployment.
In response, President Filipe Nyusi has formed a council to assess the damage caused by Cyclone Idai and to come up with possible solutions to spur economic growth.
The South African government has been urged to take strong action against its citizens involved in a recent flare-up of xenophobic violence in the country. South Africa-based African Diaspora Forum and Human Rights Watch have said the government needs to do more than just condemn the attacks. The two human rights groups are calling for urgent investigations, arrest and prosecution of persons believed to be behind the attacks that went on for about a week. President Cyril Ramaphosa has expressly condemned the attacks, as did opposition leader Julius Malema. The group say they were even more concerned that the violence came amid rising political tension as the country goes to the polls next month. When we return, international news. 8.5 centuries old Cathedral of Notre Dame engulfed by massive fire. And later, sport. 6 players failed test as under-17 AFCON kicks off.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website, annafrica.net, and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and foreign stories. A major fire broke out on Monday evening at the landmark Notre Dame Cathedral in central Paris, with flames and huge clouds of smoke billowing above the roof of the Gothic Cathedral, the most visited historic monument in Europe. The fire service says it may potentially involve renovation work that was ongoing at the cathedral. Many parishioners gathered at the scene, some weeping, some singing hymns. Authorities have so far ruled out arson and terror-related motives as possible causes, but are treating the blaze as an accident. French President Emmanuel Macron cancelled some important scheduled events to visit the site of the fire. He later said an international fundraising efforts would begin for the reconstruction of the cathedral. One of France's richest men, billionaire Soren Arin, has pledged a donation of 100 million euros towards the rebuilding of the cathedral. Notre Dame Cathedral symbolizes the city of Paris and has dominated its landscape for more than 8 centuries. More than 13 million guests from around the world visit the cathedral every year. Notre Dame construction began in 1163 and was completed in 1345. 14 persons have been killed in Pakistan in a wave of thunderstorms and high winds that have triggered flash floods in some parts of the country. 11 died in flooding in the southwestern Balochistan province in Karachi, the country's largest city. 3 others died from injuries resulting from high winds knocking over roofs, electricity poles, and other infrastructure. The city of brotherly love, American city of Philadelphia in the city of Pennsylvania, appears to be mindful and protective of its poorest residents by becoming the first city to prohibit restaurants and stores from not accepting cash. Mayor Jim Kenney has signed a new law on Thursday to take effect in January. What does it all mean not to accept cash? Reporter Karina Huber explains.
Philadelphia, like many U.S. cities, has stores that don't accept cash. Fast casual restaurant chain Sweet Green is an example. It's part of a global trend that is growing. Many businesses say cashless stores make transactions faster and safer.
But as of July 1st, Sweet Green and most of Philadelphia's other restaurants and stores will have to let customers pay with legal tender. If not, they could face a fine of up to $2,000.
That's because Philadelphia just became the first major U.S. city in recent history to ban cashless establishments. City Councilman Bill Greenlee co-sponsored the bill.
I think it's a form of discrimination because some people don't have the same access to buy a basic product that others do.
The mayor's office says 26% of Philadelphia residents live below the poverty line. Some, mainly minorities and immigrants, don't have bank accounts and don't have access to credit. The ban comes as Amazon Go, a cashless store chain, expressed interest in opening a branch in Philadelphia. Amid mounting criticism from opponents, Amazon Go has reportedly reversed course and decided to accept cash at its stores. Amazon may have caved to pressure, but Sylvie Gallier-Howard is concerned the ban sends an anti-business message.
Or if lots of businesses are moving to this model and decide we're going to close, we're not going to open more, that becomes a concern because then we start to lose jobs.
I would say, what message are we sending that somebody can't go in and get a cup of coffee because they don't have a credit card? I think that's a worse message.
Both do agree on one thing: the ban is meant to be temporary.
The mayor hopes that this bill is a pause while we deal with the issue of access for the underbanked and the unbanked to this business model.
As the rest of the world marches towards cashless stores, other U.S. cities, including New York and San Francisco, are considering similar bans.
The World Health Organization says there has been more than 300% increase globally in cases of measles in the first quarter of 2019 compared with last year. The statement comes as health experts in various parts of the world blame a growing anti-vaccination movement for the rise in outbreaks of the highly contagious but preventable disease. WHO said on Monday that early trends for 2019 likely underestimated the severity of the outbreaks, since only about 1 in 10 actual measles cases was reported. WHO says the most dramatic rise in cases has been reported on the African continent, which has weaker vaccination coverage than other regions.
Looking for some Disney magic but don't know where to find it? We've got a magical solution just for you. Simply Simply go to disneynigeria.mobi and get an exciting selection of games, short videos, wallpapers, shareables, and more. Explore a whole new world of Disney on your mobile, tablet, or PC. For just 200 Naira monthly, you get to enjoy the fun to infinity and beyond. SMS Disney to 11006 to begin. Terms and conditions apply. This service is only available to MTN customers.
Welcome back. This is any news and sport. Lagos State High Court has reaffirmed its order for the arrest of ex-Super Eagles captain Austin Okocha. Justice Adebayo Akintoye gave the arrest order in favor of the Lagos State government, which accused the retired football star of failure to pay income tax. State Prosecuting Counsel Yusuf Sule told the judge that Okocha had approached the government and was trying to settle, but is yet to pay. 6 players have been barred from competing in the 2019 African Under-17 tournament in Tanzania after the failed MRI test, which determined their age and eligibility. The testing results were done earlier this week before the tournament kicked off. The report confirmed that the 6 unnamed footballers are from Cameroon, Tanzania, and Guinea. The tournament will continue in Tanzania to determine the best 4 nations that will qualify for the next FIFA Under-17 World Cup. That is it in news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.